Good morning, everyone. Let us start this session. During the last lecture, we started with the module 1, that is the static part. So in that session, we have seen the system of coplanar forces. So we have seen classification of force system. And today we will discuss about the principle of transmissibility and composition and resolution of forces. So just I will revise some concept from the last lecture. So what is meaning of system of forces? So system of forces is the collection of forces and the couples acting on an object. So in a simple language, we can say the system of forces is the term used to describe the group of forces. So if you have the forces more than one on any object, then we can call that as a system of forces. So here in the second example, so number of forces are acting on the object. So this is a system of forces. So another example for system of forces, where the two students, they are sitting on one bench. So each student will have some weight. So the first student, it is having 50 kg and second 60 kg. Okay. So these two forces, they are supported by the reactive forces. So these two supports of the bench will offer the reaction in the opposite direction. So it is R1 and R2. Okay. So by considering all these forces, it becomes the system of forces. So the system of forces is classified into two major groups. One is a coplanar and second is the non-coplanar. So non-coplanar, it is called as a space forces. That is forces in a 3-dimension. And coplanar means we only consider the forces in a 2-dimensional plane. So under coplanar forces, we have concurrent, parallel, and general force system. And similarly, for non-coplanar, we have concurrent, parallel, and general forces. So coplanar forces means if all the forces are acting in a single plane. Okay. So the first example here, one stone is being pulled by 4 persons. Okay. So the cables, they are connecting with this stone. All these cables, they are lying in the horizontal plane. Okay. So it becomes the coplanar force system. In the second example, 3 ropes, they are connected to one ring. Okay. And all these ropes, they are in the vertical plane. So it becomes the coplanar force system. This is another example of the coplanar force system where F1, F2, F3, F4 and F5. So all these forces, they are acting in the vertical plane. So it becomes the coplanar force system. So here one board is supported by 4 cables. So the board is hanging with the help of the 4 cables. So these vectors, they represent the tension in each cable. And all these vectors, they are lying in the vertical plane or in the plane of this board. Okay. And that's why it becomes the coplanar force system. The second type is non-coplanar, where the forces are acting in the different planes. So here a cube is shown and forces F1 10 Newton, then 5 Newton and 20 Newton. They are acting in the different plane or different phase of that cube. Okay. So it is a non-coplanar force system. So another example for a non-coplanar force system is the mobile tower, which is supported with the help of the cables. So these cables, they are in different planes. So here the tension T1, T2, T3, T4, T5 and T6. So they are directed in different directions and in the different planes. Okay, so it becomes the non-coplanar or the space force. Next is the concurrent force system. Okay. So concurrent force system, It is the type of the coplanar force system. So the concurrent force system, it is the type of a coplanar force system. So what is meaning of concurrent force system? If the line of action of all the forces passes through a single point, such force system is called as a concurrent force system. So here on one rigid object, three forces are acting. One is F1, F2, and F3. Okay. So these three forces, they are in contact with the boundary of that rigid object. Okay. But if you extend these forces, so this is called as a line of action. So if you extend the line of action, that is an imaginary line which is passing through the force vector. So if all the line of action because of F1, F2, and F3, they are meeting at one point, so it becomes the concurrent force system. Okay. And this point O, that is the intersection point for the line of action, it is called as a point of concurrency. Okay. So this is one example for a concurrent force system. So this hook, it is inserted in the wall, and two forces, one is F1 and second F2, they are acting on this hook. And if you extend the line of action for F1 and F2, then the line of action will intersect at this point. Let us take this point as a O. So it becomes the concurrent force system. Another example is, so this slab is being lifted by the crane or crane hook. Okay. So at this point, so this is the crane hook. So these two cables, they are connected to the hook. So each cable will have some tension. Okay. So it is represented by this vector. So this is the tension in the cable. Let us take this T1 and T2. Okay. So this is the net force. So we'll take this as a F. Okay. So this T1 and T2, they form the concurrent force system. Okay. And this force, it will represent the net force. So in the mechanics, we represent the net force as a resultant force, that is a R. Next is the parallel force system. So parallel means all the forces, they are parallel to each other, or their line of action is parallel. So this is the imaginary line. So the practical application for the parallel force system. So here you can see in the picture. So this is the traffic light. Okay. So here the traffic light is supported on this horizontal platform. Okay. So this traffic light will have the weight. This is W1 and W2. Okay. And the line of action for W1 and W2 is exactly vertical. And therefore, these two forces, W1 and W2, they will form the parallel force system. And general force system means the forces are acting at different points and in different directions. Okay. So this general force system, it is also called as non-concurrent, non-parallel. Okay. So non-concurrent, non-parallel, it means that it is a general force system. So here, one rectangular object is subjected to different forces, F1, F2, F3, F4, and F5. So all the forces, so these forces, they are in contact with the rectangular object at different locations. Okay, and also the line of action, it is not parallel, and therefore it is a general force system. So this is just an classification for the coplanar force system. One is concurrent, then second is the parallel, and third is the non-concurrent, non-parallel, that is called as a general force system. So now we will discuss about the principle of transmissibility. So what is meaning of principle of transmissibility? So a force being a sliding vector continues to act along its line of action and therefore makes no change if it acts from different points on its line of action on a rigid body. Okay, so we'll try to understand the meaning of this statement. That is the principle of transmissibility. So here we have one rigid object. Okay, and on this rigid object we apply one force, that is the F, and this force, it acts at the point O1. Okay, now this imaginary line, so which is represented here by a dotted line, this is called as a line of action. Okay, so line of action means the imaginary line which passes through the force vector. Okay, now principle of transmissibility means if you change the location of the force F on this line of action on that rigid object, okay, that means initially force is acting at O1. Okay, now if I change the location and if I apply the force at different location on the same line of action, so I select O2. Okay, so here you can see in the second diagram, I have just shifted the force from O1 to another location on the same line of action, so it is a O2. Still the effect will remain same. Okay, there is no change in the effect of this force on this rigid object. Okay, so force is a sliding vector. Okay, so here you can observe a force being a sliding vector continues to act along its line of action, that means along this line of action, and therefore makes no change if it acts from different points. Okay, that means if you apply the force at O1 or O2, it will not change the effect, okay, on its line of action on the same rigid object. So that is called as a principle of transmissibility. So the simple example, so suppose if you have the mass m, and it is supported on the rollers. Okay, so on this mass m, if you want to push this mass m on the right side, we need to apply some force. So I will apply the force F. Okay, so when we apply the force F at this point, so I will take this point as a A. Okay, so A is the point of application of the force F. So what is the effect of the force F on this object having the mass m? So it will create some acceleration in this object. Okay, and this acceleration we can give by the Newton's second law, F is equal to mass into acceleration. Okay, so acceleration, this is equal to amount of force, that is a force magnitude upon the mass of the object. Okay, now suppose we change the point of application. Okay, so I have to draw one imaginary line that is called as a line of action. Okay, so this is the line of action. And suppose I change the location of the force F. That means I remove the force F from the point A. I select another point on the same line of action. Let us take the point B. And now if I apply the force, same force F at the point B. Okay. So the effect will remain same. That means this force, it will create this same acceleration. Just we have changed the location from point A up to the point B on the same line of action on the same object. Okay. So that is called as a principle of transmissibility. That means we can change the location of force on any rigid object along the line of action. Effect will remain same. So now here we will understand this principle of transmissibility with one animation. So we have one cupboard and we apply the force F. That means we try to push the cupboard on the right side. So we apply the force at this point. Okay. So this is the initial motion. That means the object will receive some acceleration when we apply the force F. So now here the line, that is a black line, it represents the line of action. So this is the imaginary line. Now along this line of action, if I change the location, that is the point of application of force. So I select this point. Okay. And if I apply the same force, okay, that means just I shift the force F from this point. Let us take this point as A to the point B. Still the effect will remain same. It will develop this same acceleration. Okay. So this is called as a principle of transmissibility. So for the principle of transmissibility, the object on which we are applying the force, that object must be a rigid object. Okay. So in the definition, so here you can see it is a rigid body. Okay. So for the principle of transmissibility, when we apply the force on any object, that object, it must be a rigid body. So I hope the principle of transmissibility is clear. Okay, so far we have discussed the classification of force system and principle of transmissibility. Okay, so now we will see the composition and resolution of forces. So this part is very important for the calculation. So first I will discuss what is meaning of resolution of force. Okay, so here the definition is given for the resolution. Resolution of force implies breaking up the force, that is a single force, into two components or two parts, such that if the components are combined together, would have this same effect as that of the initial force. Okay, so resolution in a simple language, we will divide the given force into two parts or two components. Okay, so here we will see the resolution of forces in the rectangular coordinate system or rectangular components. The meaning of rectangular component is the component along x and y direction. So here one force is shown. So this force is F. Okay. Now we want to resolve this force into two components. So in the animation, you can see what is meaning of resolution. So we will break that force into two parts. It's one part, it will act along x-axis. So this is the x direction. And this is the y-axis. Okay. So one part of this force, this is called as a Fx, which acts along the x direction. And the part or the component which acts along y direction, this is called as a Fy. Okay. So now how to find out the magnitude of these forces Fx and Fy? So it depends on this angle. Okay, so suppose this angle is theta. Then by using trigonometry, we can find out what is the exact value of Fx and exact value of Fy. Okay. So now we will see how to find out the exact value for Fx and Fy. So for the resolution of forces, we will assume the force, it lies in the first quadrant, second, third, and the fourth quadrant. Okay. That means we will visualize the given force, it lies in either first, second, third, and fourth quadrant. Okay. So here we will see if the force is acting in the first quadrant. So this is the origin. This is the x-axis and this is the y-axis. Okay. And one force F, so it acts at the origin at an angle theta with respect to positive x-axis. Okay, so the given force, it is lying in the first quadrant. Now the question is, we have to resolve the force F into x component, that is called as the Fx, and y component Fy. Okay, so how to resolve the forces? So from this force, you can draw one perpendicular on the x-axis. Okay, so I will assume this force as a OP. Its magnitude is F. So from the point P, draw perpendicular on the x-axis. So let us take this point as a M. So this triangle OMP, it will become the right angle triangle. Its OP, it will become the hypotenuse. So you can use the trigonometry for this theta. Okay, suppose if you want to find out the x component. So x component means the component which acts along the x-axis. So this is the Fx. Okay, that is the side OM. So how to find out this Fx? So you can use the cos theta because this is the adjacent side. So I will write here cos theta. This is equal to OM upon the hypotenuse, that is the OP. Okay. So what is OM? It is nothing but the x component. So this is Fx, and this OP is nothing but the force F. Okay, that is the total force F. So we require the x component because we are doing the resolution. So Fx value, this is equal to F cos theta. So this is called as a x component. Okay. Similarly, we can find out the y component. So for the y component, you can draw the perpendicular like this. Okay. Now here, this PM, so this is equal to this vector So this vector is nothing but the Fy. That is a component which acts along the y-axis. Okay. So again, you can consider the triangle OMP. So in the triangle OMP, just use the sine theta. So what is the sine theta here? This PM is the opposite side upon the hypotenuse, that is the OP. So this is equal to, this PM is equal to Fy. Okay. So Fy upon the total force F, that is nothing but the OP. So this is equal to sine theta. And from this we can write the Fy, this is equal to F sine theta. Okay, so this is how you can divide the given force into two components. One is Fx and second is the Fy. Okay. So here we calculate these forces, that is this magnitude F cos theta and F sin theta by using the trigonometry. Okay. So if the force is given at some angle theta with respect to x-axis, then you can directly write down the component. So this is the Fx and this is Fy. Okay, so you can decide whether it is cos or sine just by this angle. Okay, now here Fx component is adjacent to this angle theta. So we can directly write down this as F cos theta. Okay, need not to consider that triangle. No need to draw the perpendicular from this point. Just check Fx in contact with this angle theta, that is adjacent to theta, and directly write down Fx is equal to F cos theta. Now this Fy, it is opposite to angle theta. Okay, so we can write this as sine. This is F sine theta. Okay, so you can follow this procedure to decide the component Fx and Fy. Now consider the second quadrant. That means the given force, it lies in the second quadrant. So the force is F and angle is given with respect to negative x-axis. Okay. So its component we can find out. So this is the x component and this is the y component. Okay, so this component, this arrow, it must be directed along this initial force or the net force. So this Fx and Fy. So you can use the same procedure. This theta, it is adjacent, or Fx is adjacent to theta. So you can write this Fx is equal to F cos theta. Fy component is away from the theta or opposite to theta. And therefore we can write this as a F sin theta. Okay. Now, whenever you use this magnitude in the calculation, okay, then we have to consider the proper sign. So here x component, it is along negative x direction. Okay, and therefore in the calculation you should take this as a minus. This is minus F cos theta, and the y component, it is along the positive y direction. So it is plus F sin theta. Okay, here I have taken the negative because Fx, it acts along the negative x direction. In the previous case, both these forces, they are acting in positive x and positive y direction. So in the calculation, you should write fx is equal to, this is plus f cos theta, and fy is plus f sin theta. So for the resolution of forces, the sign convention is important. Now consider the force in the third quadrant. So this is the net force F. Now its x component. So this x component, it will act along negative x direction. So this is Fx. And this is the y component, that is the Fy. Okay. Its magnitude we can decide depending on this angle theta. So here Fx, it is adjacent to angle theta. So we can write this as F cos theta. And Fy is opposite to the theta. So this is F sin theta. Okay. Now whenever you use this in the calculation, you should take Fx as a minus. So it is minus F cos theta, and the Fy, it is minus F sin theta. Both are negative because Fx and Fy, they are directed along negative x direction and negative y direction. Okay, and therefore both the components Fx and Fy are negative if the force is in the third quadrant. Okay, in the first quadrant, both are positive. Second quadrant, x is negative, y component is positive. In the third quadrant, both are negative, and in the fourth quadrant, x positive and y negative. Okay. So now consider the fourth quadrant. So force F, it is acting at the origin. This is the x component, which is the Fx, and this is the y component. Now here Fx is adjacent to angle theta. So this is F cos theta, and this is F sin theta. Okay. And for the calculation, we write Fx is equal to plus F cos theta because it is acting along positive x direction. But y component, it acts along negative y direction. So we will write this Fy as a minus F sin theta. Okay, so this is the resolution of force if the force lies in the fourth quadrant.